Scotiabank has had a presence in the Caribbean for more than 130 years. And today, the Canadian bank, one of this country's biggest, revealed it is slashing its workforce. CTV's Heather Butts with the impact.
Layoffs are no longer lurking at one of Canada's largest banks. They're here.
Ever since the Johnny Cash machine, we need less people around the bank. ChatGPT is changing the way that you can do basic AI work that doesn't need a human.
Scotiabank announced it's cutting 3% of its global workforce. That's around 2,700 staff. The restructuring includes trimming some real estate holdings and writing down the value of an investment in a China-based bank.
Across the board for Canadian banks, there's just not a lot of growth out there. So when you don't have growth, you don't have pricing pressure, and you've got a concern about a recession coming, you got to cut costs. And maybe Scotia's getting ahead of this.
With higher interest rates cutting back on loan demand, this economist says the bank is looking to profit from cutting paychecks.
The bank is making huge amounts of money despite higher interest rates, $2.2 billion in the third quarter alone. So they didn't have to do this to try and staunch the bleeding. They're just doing it to try and maximize their profits.
It's the latest hit to Bay Street, with both RBC and CIBC making recent cuts.
Labor markets are a bit of a trailing indicator of how things are going. Businesses are quite reluctant to cut back on staff, especially if things start turning better again.
While some don't expect unemployment to soar, businesses are starting to reassess.
If you see companies that are laying off workers now, it's probably because they overexpanded in the aftermath of COVID or even in the lead up to COVID. And so this is merely now all of the years of good times over the last decade and a half finally coming to roost.
The bank is trying to get in line ahead of its fourth quarter earnings to be released the end of November, when further details on the cutbacks will also be announced. Heather Butts, CTV News, Toronto.